Good evening and welcome once again to Republican Update, brought to you by the Rockland County Republican Committee. My name is Vincent Reeder. I'm the chairman of the Rockland County Republican Committee and your host for this evening. Tonight our special guest is County Legislator Ed Day. Ed has been serving for 5 years on the legislature now, and he will be embarking this year on basically a new district. He's still going to encompass all of New City and parts of Pomona. So we're going to welcome him once to our show. Thank you for being here, Ed.
Good to be here again, Vinny.
And as we start off right at the top of the show, we were discussing, you got a little shout out that you want to give, and go right ahead.
Oh, I could not be more proud. As someone who's coached in the New City Little League for about 13 years of my life, I want to give the shout out to our New City girls softball, the 11, 12-year-olds. They are presently competing in Portland in the World Series. So they are among the top 10 teams in the entire world. So I want to wish them good luck. They're the Eastern Regional champions, state champions, and now they're competing for the World Championship.
Isn't that just great? Rockland
Fantastic.
County ladies.
Yep,
right?
absolutely.
That's good. All right, Ed, let's get on to the politics of the show right now. And in February, you were the first elected officials. A lot of people talked about term limits, but you were the first one that took the bull by the horns and introduced term limits legislation. Want to discuss that a little bit, please? Take it from the top.
Yeah, you know, I really weighed a lot of the comments I heard from people. I did a little research on it. 15 states have term limits in a variety of offices throughout the country. I think two things really got me convinced to do it. I think what you see now at the federal level of government now is probably a prime example of why we need a different approach to representation. I believe that what was envisioned by our founding fathers was to have citizen representation, having people spend time either before or after their career, use that experience to work in government and help guide government, governed by the people. And again, of course, the famous argument for this is term limits is good enough for the president, why not good enough for everybody else? Term limits is really not a new concept. It was weighed back during the days of the Continental Congress. Thomas Jefferson actually was introducing it. But the decision back then was it wasn't necessary because everybody understood there was a normal, what they called rotation office. I know different people will differ on this, but I just really believe in my heart that people coming into government, as opposed to being a career, that they come into government with an intent to serve for a period of time, to bring those skills of life with them. I think that really is the way we should be going. And I think by doing it here locally, which admittedly I think is the closest you are to representatives here at the town, village, and county level, but I think we set the example. I've seen other legislation passed that is supposed to be sending a message or setting a tone for a larger government. I think that's really the reason why I moved this forward.
Well, you must have did the right thing because I've noticed on many of the palm cards, you know, this year, all 17 legislators are up for re-election, and several of them have opted to put this as part of their platform that they are supporting term limits. So you probably started the ball rolling in the right direction, and hopefully we'll find out what the voters think about this.
And again, it's all I'm looking to do. I'm not looking to make a decision here. I'm looking to bring the item forth for the people to decide. Let it be debated openly, and let the people who we represent decide if they want to have that type of representation.
You're right. And there is two sides to the story. Some people say, hey, the guy or the gal is doing such a great job as a legislator or as a town supervisor or a superintendent of highway, whatever the position may be, let's let him stay. But we noticed that for the president, it's 2 terms. New York City, they changed it to 3, but we know that was term limit. So it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out now that the public are going to have an opportunity to speak on that.
Yep, I agree.
Also recently, I happened to be in the audience a couple of weeks back, another piece of your legislation that was gone through, and I'd like you to spend a little time telling our viewing audience about the national issue about these people demonstrating at funerals of our beloved soldiers that are coming back in boxes.
Yes. This is something clearly with 2 sons serving in the military is extremely dear to me. What we have here is we had a group called the Westboro Baptist Church, and essentially this is what I view as a hate group functioning under a religious banner. They demonstrated a number of military funerals where our soldiers coming back killed in action. They were demonstrating these funerals, and they were doing catcalls, they were holding signs up, thank God for dead soldiers, thank God for 9/11, fag troops. They have an issue with homosexuality and the acceptance of homosexuality by the United States. So their way of making their point is to create this type of added grief to people's lives at the most grievous time that they could be experiencing. The Supreme Court weighed in a very narrow way, afforded them the right to demonstrate by an 8-1 decision. The scope was so narrow, however, that Chief Justice Roberts actually said to municipal governments, you really need to institute legislation so there's a reasonable approach to the balance of rights. Within a couple of days of that decision, I introduced legislation, initially directed at military funerals, and then I thought a bit about it, and I said, you know something, I think it's better from a constitutional perspective, I think it's better in its entirety that we include all funerals in Rockland County. So what we ended up doing as we progressed through the process of the committee, we expanded to all funerals within the county. We have funerals and memorials described as specific types of events now. There is a buffer zone of 750 feet. It is a reasonable thing. It's based on some laws across the country that have been around for about 5 or 6 years already. And what I find, I think, most remarkable about this is most people who talk to me about this issue have said to me they can't believe that we need to legislate a law like this. And I say very patiently, unfortunately, this is what we're dealing with a Supreme Court decision. But what I find, what I say very simply to people, and I note it with honor, I note it with a sense of irony, that it seems almost sacred to me that the soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who've given their lives are now have now provided a forum for us here stateside to speak of a law that will protect all people in all situations when it comes to funerals. So it's another gift that our fighting men and women have given us, I think, and it was passed unanimously. It's gone to the county executive for his signature, which I'm hopeful he will forward that through, and it will be law within Rockland County within a couple of weeks.
Yes, well, as I said, I was present at that meeting, and everybody was tripping over themselves to second the motion to move it, and I thought it was great to see unity and both sides of the aisle supporting an issue like that, which was really good. It
was very heartening because it is. I mean, getting an unanimous vote is not unusual, but having every legislator ask to co-sponsor, again, the unanimity is a wonderful feeling. Right. It was a good day for county government. It really was. I feel very proud of that.
And I believe out of all the legislators, I think there was only 2 of them that were veterans, but everybody supported
Yes.
it. You should be commended for that.
Thank you very much.
And also recently, I've heard from some friends that you came up with an idea, then you became the hero of Clarkstown. And maybe you'd share that little thing that you pulled off and to help not only people in your district,
right,
but the entire town of Clarkstown. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, like most good ideas, I wish I could take credit for it. It was actually an idea that came up from some of the folks who called me. But it's a very basic issue, and if you, again, as you know, I work during the day.
You didn't suggest that they call the town board, did you?
No, actually, it's the Rockland County Solid Waste Authority, which I sit on that board, as a matter of fact. And, again, we get back to that term limit issue about what you do and how you represent people. I work during the day. The same thing other people do. I go over to Tappan Zee Bridge, the George Washington Bridge. I come home on weekends. I work around the house. The issue was that at the Clarkstown Solid Waste Facility, the ability to get rid of branches and things and yard waste ended at Saturday at 12 o'clock. And the comment that came to me was that, I work all week. I get up, I try to get everything done, load up my car, my van, or whatever, and by the time I get down there, it's after 12 o'clock. Is there anything you can do? So as I sit on the committee for solid waste, I actually brought the issue up as an item of new business, and I said there's something maybe we can look at to see if we can improve upon this. I give a lot of credit to the executive director and her staff, Anna Rapolo, and my fellow members on the board. They looked at it, they came back a month later and said, something, we can massage the hours. We add no cost to our operations. We'll keep the The facility opened for residents only, obviously, till 2:30, and we'll give them a couple hours plus to bring materials to be disposed of. And people, they could not believe that response. And again, you know, this is a very basic kick the tire type of idea.
So everybody in Rockland benefited by it.
Anybody who goes to that station,
Right.
yep, absolutely. And again, I said something when I ran the first time in 2005. My goal in life as a representative is to make your life a little bit easier. I think this is a classic example of that.
Okay. Another issue I'd like to spend a little time on, because I'm not clear on a lot of it, is the financial condition of the Summit Park Hospital. And recently, something was exposed, and you have now called for an investigation to find out how we wound up $10 million in a hole. Do you want to elaborate a little bit that, and how did you find that out, and what brought it to your attention, and how come we didn't find it before? As I mentioned before the show started, we had a director of finance that worked for the county for 25 or 30 years and went on to the private sector with a very, very comfortable job with an accounting firm that does ordering our books, and nobody thought to audit the books. Well, don't you think that would have been found out at that point in time?
Well, you know, I can't answer to what would have been found out in audit. All I know is what was presented to me. And again, we take that life experience and bring it forward as a legislator. I was actually away during a Budget and Finance Committee meeting, and I'm not in that committee. And what came out of the committee meeting was that the Summit Park facility had lost $10 million for the year 2010. Now, bear in mind, this was a June 30th meeting, as I recollect. I was actually away on our anniversary trip. My wife and I had an anniversary trip. I got back, and nobody had really followed up on that. And I really felt a bit put out, because for those who may not know the history of the facility, there was some losses coming out of there about 2 or 3 years, maybe 3 years ago, and it was mostly overtime that was not controlled. It was a hand-off-the-helm approach to management, basically. We ended up with a new commissioner there. We were told it was taken care of. We were told that the operation was now, being profitable.
He wasn't really ill. Didn't they bring him back?
Yes, he came back. He worked there at one time. He retired. He came back as Commissioner Maloney. So, but the most important thing here is we're assured that we would never get caught short again. So to find out, by definition, 6 months after the fact, in June, that the hospital lost $10 million in 2010, it's $10 million of our money. That's almost $1 million a month. And I'm demanding an investigation. Now, there is an audit going on, which will identify where the money went, I'm presuming. But that's like locking the barn door after the horse is gone. I had ultimate budget responsibility in 2 jobs, one in the private sector as a director of corporate security, and one in the public sector as the chief of detectives in Baltimore. We had variance reports. Every month, if we were off, we had to answer to our boss, our CFO. I just don't quite grasp how almost $1 million a month go out the door without nobody noticing it, and that's what I want an answer to, because it was this facility that started us down that road of deficits.
And we're trying to sell it.
Well, that's the thing I find very interesting, because we were told this is a profitable operation. Now suddenly it's losing money. Now, being a former detective, I'm not a big believer in coincidences, so I wonder why. I really do wonder why. How come suddenly this is now losing money? What's been represented to us on a regular basis has been making money. So it's something I'm going to get to the bottom of. I know one thing: if I, as chief of detectives in Baltimore or corporate director of security for the housing company I work for, if under my watch that money was gone, I'd be rightfully discharged. So I'm looking to see what exactly happened here.
Exactly. Well, we'll be interested. We're going to have you back again when we find out. Okay. Can you put like a time limit on this? When do you think you'll find out?
Well, what I'm told was that the next meeting of the Budget and Finance Committee this month should have that item on it. So the beginnings of that follow-up from the June 30th meeting should be coming to fruition at that meeting, and at that point we should have an opportunity to discuss.
So as of this point, the investigation is ongoing, would you say?
No, the audit is ongoing.
The audit.
Right, okay. And when I see the results of the audit from that point, we'll see how deep an investigation is necessary.
Oh, okay. Okay, another question for you. We got a big problem with the Port Authority. And I know you took the time out to write a letter to Governor Cuomo, all right, about the increases and the bridges and tunnels, et cetera, that. You want to spend a moment to discuss that?
Just a bit of history. In 2008, the Port Authority was able to get a 60% increase in their tolls. That includes, for us folks in Rockland, the George Washington Bridge. They also expanded their off-peak hours to include from noon to 8 on weekends. So if you wanted to travel to the city on a weekend, you'll get hit with a higher toll. The excuse then was the airports. We need money for the airports. The Port Authority now just announced to raise their tolls from $8 to $12, which is a 50% increase, and from $6 to $10 off-peak, which is a 67% increase. More egregious than that, in just about less than 2.5 years, the toll structure will double and triple. Now, to the average person, it's important to understand this. On a weekend, when you really are not in the middle of, contributing to traffic, you want to go visit Grandma in Queens. And I actually said this to Governor Cuomo in the letter because he is from Queens, obviously. I also talked to him about his mom, who I met at Juanio, wonderful lady, and try to personalize these things. And I said, if you had to go to Queens to visit Grandma and Grandpa, you're spending $30 in tolls when you get done with the Port Authority and the MTA bridges. That is completely unacceptable. The excuses we're getting now is that, well, we need money, because less people are using the bridges because we're in a downturn. We need to build the infrastructure. We need to take care of the World Trade Center, which, by the way, has had massive cost overruns, which Governor Christie has pointed out, by the way. And we have to pay for security. Well, my answer to them is stop hitting the average person who's trying to get to work every day with these unbelievable increases. And by the way, those who are taking the PATH trains, they're not going to be exempt from this. That is going to go up 60-some-odd% also. So I wrote the letter to Governor Cuomo. I note that Governor Cuomo and Governor Christie both have a bit of a jaundiced view of this right now. But I also note that back in June, there was a rumor quickly squashed that there would be a $1 or $2 increase to the toll. So I'm kind of wondering what the end game is here. But the one thing I will be doing when this dust settles here, because I resent an authority such as the Port Authority coming in August, having one public hearing, saying straight out 3 days later they're going to put it forward anyway, and then within 10 days the governors have to ring in on it. Either but the governor can veto this. They both have approved for it to happen. In the dead of August, dead of summer. I'm going to try to do my level best.
It seems that they're both against it right now.
Right now, but again, let's see how practicalities play out. I think especially with Governor Cuomo, and I've used my email blast. As you know, I have reached about 3,000 families. I've encouraged everybody to send an email to Governor Cuomo with the backdrop of a 2% property tax cap. How do we square a 67% increase in tolls? And if you break it up over 3 years, it's still 20-some-odd% a year. So, I'm calling that out right now. What I'm going to be asking for is what was done with the MTA. When the MTA was discovered to have 2 sets of books, I had a sister work for the Port Authority. They're not too tough on themselves when it comes to cost control. They treat themselves pretty good. I want an audit done with the Port Authority. This action here just shows an over-the-top arrogance when it comes to safeguarding the pocketbooks of people. And I want to look into. And that's my next step after this settles.
Well, I think you're on the right track. And as I said, it appears at this point in time that Governor Christie and Governor Cuomo are against this. But, it might be the old shell game, Ed, that, well, let's ask for $10, but we'll only take $2,
right.
And that might be the whole game right here.
Like I said
obviously,
earlier,
there's going to be an increase.
I think that's the end game, and because again, there was some rumors of that in June. So I think the cat got out of the bag. They put it back in real quick, and they meowed a little bit. Now they're trying the higher number to make people really happy. That's only a half a tax increase.
Yeah, right.
Traditional game we've seen before.
Of course. Okay, Ed. Well, the show's moving along, and we've got about 10 minutes left here. Let's talk a little bit of personal nature. I know both your sons. I've met them, and I know they're 2 wonderful boys, and they both served our country well in the United States Army. And why don't we talk a little bit about them?
Yeah.
Give us an update. You haven't been on a show in quite a while.
That's right.
About 8 or 9
I look
months.
a little older now,
Right,
right?
you do.
Yeah. You know, actually, well, Christopher has completed completed 2 combat tours. He's back home. He's finishing up his commitment with the Army. As you know, he's an Army captain, Ranger and Airborne qualified. He's served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and he's back home. He's going to be going to school. He's going to Columbia to get his master's in finance. You know, and he's a Yale graduate. He's the running joke in the family is, you know, who's his father? You know, I mean, I've been good in school. I wasn't that good. So he's home, and of course he's the dad of the apple of the day family's eye, CJ, our grandson, who's now 2, and you know, life's good. Chris is home with us for a little while because he needs a couple of years. We want him to go full time. We want to help him out, and he'll be going to school full time to get his degree, and so we're looking to help him out any way we can and see where that works out. Michael, our younger one, he's 3 years younger than Chris. He enlisted, and he's a college graduate. He opted to enlist to pursue a special forces selection process. He could not do that if he had gone into OCS to pursue second lieutenant. So he was accepted for the selection.
Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, because it's highly competitive, and they get to, believe it or not, they get to pick a litter. It's not like it was in the 60s, you know, when people ran from the infantry. That's the desired branch now, and because you have a volunteer army, this is what these young people want to do. And a lot of people, I don't think they really get the impact of 9/11 on our young people. I mean, I've seen this up close and personal with my own sons and their friends. And I just drew a parallel between Pearl Harbor and the attack on the World Trade Center. We lost more people in the Trade Center. You know, it was 25 miles from home, so the impact is tremendous. So, so to see Michael do this wasn't surprising either. So he went into the selection process. He got through it. He's an Army specialist. He's right now in NCO school for sergeant. And he's now assigned to the Special Warfare Section in Fort Bragg, and he's got a 5-year commitment to do that. And I'm very proud of my young men.
How long is the school he's in now?
He has almost 2 years of training. This schooling for NCO goes to the end of this month in August, and then he was selected to be the medical person within his unit. Well, the SF units are all 12-man teams. And
the NCO school is 2 years?
No, all his training is 2 years. NCO school is just the month of August.
Right.
But every 12-man unit that goes out on the mission they're going to go out on, they have one person who's trained for medical needs. Michael has gotten that selection. If he passes the training, he will be that one person that they will bring any wounded people to during covert operations. Okay,
well, you must be very proud of both of them.
Oh, yes.
They're doing great. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about, we got time, Ed, so
yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your future. You're obviously one of the shining stars on your chairman's tree, and I know you like politics. I know you like serving. I know you like serving the public. You've done that your whole life. What do you see as a future for Ed Day?
You know,
we're going to get you elected this time, and I think that's going to happen.
You know, I look at it this way. As you know, I work full time. I think that's a blessing in this business because I get to navigate, you know, I think in a more freer way. I came into this this particular situation, legislator, coming out as a civic association background as a president, and I looked at something I thought was very important at the time. I felt it was a good time to be involved in New City.
Well, I just to interrupt you for a moment. I can remember before you decided to run, I came to you 2 or 3 years earlier and kind of begged you, take a look at this and see, and you know, you weren't quite ready yet.
It wasn't my time.
And,
it's something, at that particular juncture, you know, in history in New City, it was a time where I felt it was critical to have someone who had an innate understanding of what was going on. And I'm very proud of the fact, my wife hates when I say this, the good Lord takes me tomorrow. I can very simply say there were things in New City that happened because I was there. There were things in New City that did not happen because I was there. All in all, we have good things happening in the Hamlet Center. You know, the road work is a difficult thing to go through, but the revitalization is ongoing. There's a lot of good things happening in New City. I'm very, very proud to be part of that. So that's my goal, that's my measure. So as I look forward now, again, I have a job. I look for opportunities where I can do something along the same lines, you know, on a larger stage if necessary, where I can get some more things done for my community. I'm 60 years of age. My favorite line is I have a limited shelf life. If I see that I can get something done that's going to have an impact on my community in the time I have left, I would consider pursuing it.
Well, over the years, and I've said this publicly and I've said it at meetings to folks, you obviously have that appeal, and I like to refer to our great leader, I know is a dear friend of yours, Senator Moorhan.
Yes.
You appeal to both sides of the aisle. You can work with Democrats, you can work with conservatives, independent, public, and you do the same in the public. Your district alone, I think it's
3 to 1.
at least 3-1 Democrat,
Yes.
okay? And yet, the Democrats didn't even want to challenge you in that district. I mean, and not that they're afraid of you, it's just the fact that, hey, the guy's doing a good job. Let him alone, let him stay there. And of course, they even gave you a bigger Democrat district to run in, which I was horrified by it, but you were ready to take it on, whether you were challenged or not. And so do you see yourself staying in the political field?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, it's I've adjusted my life at my job during the day, so it allows me to do those things. And you know, again, I truly and thoroughly enjoy representing people. It's people thank me, and I think for the average person to know they have somebody in their corner when they're in need, somebody who can maybe make a call or get something done, it means a lot to people. Yeah. And it's really a good feeling. I'm still coaching football. I still love my life. I'm having a grand old time.
Yeah,
so,
and I don't know how you fit it all in. I mean, being a legislator alone is almost a full-time job. You work a full-time job. You're an officer in your company. You're still deeply involved with the Little League and the New City Chamber. How do you do it all, Ed?
Sleep is optional.
Yeah, I guess
People
so.
who get my emails at 2 in the morning know sleep is optional, but I enjoy it. So.
Well, listen, it was great having you on the show again. And once we get this legislation passed, and once you get the information from your investigation on what's going on with the hospital, I'd like to have you back on the show. Okay? But for now, you got a minute to say goodnight to the folks and tell them why they should get out and make sure they reelect you.
Well, very simply, obviously, it's hopefully be a very simple race this time, but I think the issue right now is, you know, Vinny has talked about the political issues. The bottom line is this: people want to be represented in a fair way. They want to be represented, you know, in a straightforward way, and that's what I try to do. I'm a very simple, direct person that just comes from the detective in me. So I ask for your support moving forward. I look to get good things done for the people of Rockland. Okay, and I'd like to take this moment to thank you for tuning in our program. We'll be back here every Tuesday at 7. We're looking forward to having our County Legislator Ed Day back again. On behalf of the Rockland County Republican Committee, thank you and have a good evening. And thank you, Ed Day. Pleasure being here, Ben.